Hi all, welcome back to the quarterfinals of the Chessable Masters, and today I have a game between Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces against none other than Magnus Carlsen, another clash between the numbers 1 and 2 in the world. So in the first set, 2 days ago, it was Magnus with a dominating win with 2.5 against a half, so he took that set. So Fabi needs to win this set to stay into the game. So let's see how he tries to do that. So Fabi opens with d4 with knight to f6, c4 and e6. With knight to c3, bishop to b5, the Nimzo Indian defense, and now f3, the Kmoch variation. With d5 now by Magnus, a3 and takes on c3. c5 by Magnus attacking the center, and now takes on d5 and a take on c5. For the moment, white is a pawn up, but all these pawns they look quite dodgy, and it won't be long before Magnus will just pick them up. With queen to a5 now with a double attack. I mean, if you hit it immediately, you'll just invite a queen trade here, and you don't win anything. For example, this here, and after here, it's getting. Mm, Maybe it is quite equal, but I have to prefer white's position there. So no need to be hasty. Just relax. Queen to a5. Still attacking both pawns. This pawn is lost. It cannot be defended really. This pawn is now under attack. So we have e4 now, and knight goes back to f6. If the knight takes here, you get queen to d2, and with knight to f6, you want to defend your queen because else you cannot move this knight. Bishop to b2, and then we have a queen trade on a5, and we have bishop takes d7. So it is pretty equal, but I would still probably prefer to play white in this position. So let's not be hasty again, and just you retreat to f6. We have bishop to e3 now, defending the c5 pawn, and now we have the knight to. Oh, sorry, we have castling by black. There is another thing you can take here, but then the king just moves here, and white is perfectly fine here, and this pawn is now actually quite nice, and it's also defendable here, and yeah, I kind of like this position, maybe like this. So yeah. Um, so no need to grab a pawn yet. We have castles and an a4 cementing this pawn here. So maybe the rook can help into the defense, or maybe like this. We have knight to d7 now, king to f2, and now the pawn is taken on c5. So yeah, we have queen to d6 now. If you are well, it, white has a few options. If you were to take here, this will just result in bishop to b5, and after you move the queen, we have perhaps queen to c1, and white is perfectly fine here. So we have takes on c5 and queen to d6. We have b6 now, and now bishop to b5, bishop to d7, and we have knight to e2 now. Takes and takes in the center, so we have the bishop takes b5 and the bishop takes c5. And we have the takes on c5 now, and the queen takes on c5. So it's another whole capture fest again. And if we count the pawns, white is still the pawn up. So we have knight to d7, and queen takes on b5. This is actually what white should have done here, is take with the pawn. And if you take the queen here, and actually this will create this will fix your pawn structure, and now the pawn up suddenly it looks a lot more dangerous. So and I would even claim that after this white is actually winning, um, because the problem is these isolated pawns which are once so easily targeted. If you capture with the pawn, suddenly you have things like c4, and this pawn is just gonna march, and yeah, it's getting they are just complementing each other here. So yeah, but what happened in the game is he took with the queen back to c7, and now these two are still targets. Rook to d1 now, and knight to e5. We have f4. If you maybe want to take here and have some if you play this, if you want to go here, which happened actually in the game, if you capture here, you'll just get king to g3 and you lose the knight. So yeah, after f4 we have knight to g4 with check, and a king to f3 now, and you cannot take here, so the knight just retreats to f6, and now queen to e5, saying okay, let's trade queens, and I'm still a pawn up. So no, queen to e7 and rook to d4. We have rook to c8, and now rook to b1. Rook to d8 now, and takes, and queen to d4. Queen to c7, rook to d1, h6, and g4. So let's just analyze this position a little bit. This pawn is a liability, so this knight is actually quite stuck here for the moment. It cannot move, but this knight is not looking so happy as well with, well, basically, the only available squares are h7 and e8. So, and he's attacking this pawn, but there's not much happening. White really doesn't want to activate the black knight, yes. So you don't want to play something like instead of g4, you don't want to play something like e5, because then you'll just give the knight a really nice outpost here, and yeah, then black is actually doing really well here. So you don't want that to happen. So um, this position here is quite cemented. Yes, we have the control on the d file by white, the control on the c file by black, but neither party can do something here. So if you try to bust open the king side, get your rook here, oh, not to h1 but to g1 probably, and have some ideas here, maybe h4, g5, then it's starting to like really good for white. But yeah, in the game after g4, Magnus played rook to e8 with the idea of playing e5, just trying to maybe get, so because if after a4 maybe you want to play e5 takes, and maybe queen takes, something in these lines. But white is still preferred here after this little check, and knight to g3. White is doing good and still a pawn up. So it's not something which black really wants to do, but he sees no alternative at this moment. Um, White didn't play h4 actually, but played queen to d6, still saying, hey, let's trade. I'm a pawn up. So we have queen to c4 now, an infiltration by the queen, and maybe you want to pull your queen back a bit. So it goes back to b4, saying, okay, let's trade here, so I can create and I can connect these pawns. Magnus, of course, not interested and goes back to c8, and now we have knight to g3. Maybe he wants to play something like f5. Who knows? E4 is now defended as well. So we have e5 now by Magnus, and f5 by Fabi. Rook to d8, and now we have takes, and king to e2, defending these squares from the queen infiltrating. But it comes at the cost of a pawn on g4. So what the computer suggests here is actually queen to b1, and after queen to e2, you have a check here, and you grab the pawn. And um, this is a this actually black is still doing okay here, because after some checks, actually you can take here, and it is the position is quite equal here now. So that would actually be in black's favor, but still quite equal, I would say. So, but giving away the pawn is just dangerous, really, in my opinion. So, um, Fabi played knight to f1, and this allows a bit too much because um, suddenly the roles are reversed. We have this excellent knight now on g4, while moments ago it was doing nothing on f6, and we have the white knight, which played a pivotal role in defense of key pawns, now sitting at square f1, defending the h2 pawn from the knight. So yeah, things are starting to look bad here for Fabi. So Magnus played a5, and we have queen to b5 now. But this allows the queen to infiltrate on h4, and now things are looking grim. There are This pawn is hanging. There are numerous checks coming. You have to make sure you don't lose this knight. So how do you go about it? Fabi plays knight to d2 with queen takes h2 now with check, king to d3, queen to g3 with check, king to c2, knight to e3 with check, king to b3, and this is also a mistake. Um, well, it is a very difficult position. The computer actually gives this as a best option, queen king to d3, but this is not a human thing to do. Um, but at this point, the game, has shifted completely, where white was a pawn up and seeming to have a strong position, trying to create some chances here and there. Suddenly, it is black who looks just completely winning. We have an h pawn here, which just looks unstoppable. Um, if white can somehow manages to grab the a pawn, give a check here, and maybe he can start moving his pawn, maybe he has a chance. But yeah, it is looking grim. So we have king to b3, as said, and now queen to e1. With the ideas maybe of of course the threat is now taking, and also there's a threat of a check here. So we have queen to d3 now, defending the knight, but now queen to d1 with check, king to a2, and now queen takes a4, king to b2. So yeah, white lost the a4 pawn as well. The a5 pawn is still there. So now black has two side pawns who can just have a free walk. Um, so we have knight to g4. Now, if you try to push it, I mean, there's one thing you have to be wary about as black, and that is some sort of perpetual. Um, if you let the queen come to d8 and we check here, for example, if you play well, let's say if we want to play really aggressive and play knight to d1 with king to c1, knight to f2, and maybe now there are some chances for some checks here, or maybe he wants to do this, and if the f7 pawn falls, and then maybe there are some chances here for perpetual checks. But yeah, Magnus didn't let it go that far. He didn't play knight to d1. He played knight to g4. Now there is knight to b3, getting his knight into a better position. Maybe create some chances, attacking the a5 pawn. Now knight to f6, just ruling out any chance for perpetuals, and if for example, if the f pawn wasn't here, you can maybe have perpetuals on g6 and e8, but now the knight's always defending the e8 square, so there will never be a risk of a perpetual. We have knight to c5 now, attacking the queen. Queen goes to c6, queen d8 check, king h7, and queen to e7 now. Well, maybe white could have picked up this pawn, but he plays queen to e7 now, maybe hoping for some sign of queen f7, knight e6, and maybe with some mating ideas. Queen b5 check, king c2, a4 now. So yeah, this pawn is now gonna walk, and if not this pawn, it's gonna be this pawn. So queen to e5 now, a3, and yeah, how are you gonna stop this pawn? You probably have to make use of the queen's this diagonal somehow, and maybe play c4 to open it up. Fabi played knight to d3. But after Magnus queen to a4 check, he actually Fabi resigned the game here. There is just nothing you can do anymore. After uh, you move the king and king to b1, maybe a2, king to a1 here, queen to c2. A threatening checkmate. You have to defend the checkmate. Now everything is hanging. Your knight is hanging. The pawns are hanging. So yeah, what do you want to do here? It's completely winning for black. So after queen a2, it was just a resignation time for Fabiano Caruana, and Magnus takes this set also by 2.5 against the half and is through to the semifinals. It was an incredible day with two games. If you haven't seen the Artemiev Nepomniachtchi match, I uploaded it to my channel. Do check it out. It's an amazing game. Um, I really like this game. It just shows you how what a great fighter Magnus is, and how he can turn a seemingly a bad position, or at least a not winning position, just by shifting his pieces around a bit, creating a completely winning end game. It just never ceases to amaze me. So I hope you enjoyed it too. Please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video.